Discuss and act on the Rockwall County Veterans Memorial located at the Yellow Jacket Courthouse, its preservation, advocacy, and commemorative initiatives, supported by a presentation of a newly formed local nonprofit organization, the Rockwall County Veterans Memorial Foundation, championing the memorial among other projects and programs and all related issues. Commissioner Macklick.
Thank you, Judge. I'm going to be pivoting this to David Peak, our treasurer of the county, but also a veteran, and he has a presentation in regards to the agenda item we just talked about, and I'm very honored. And with him, it's coming up is Mark O'Connor, and I don't know if anyone else is going to be joining him, but he has a great presentation of their thoughts and their opportunities they want to present to us in regards to the Veterans Memorial at the big courthouse. I call it the big courthouse, but it's not the new courthouse anymore. So the one on Yellow Jacket, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Macklick. And Judge, Commissioners, good morning. Appreciate you taking the time to add this to the agenda. I think this is a very important item, and it's a good news story. Y'all got a lot of heavy, thick stuff on y'all's agenda today. And Judge New, appreciate you bringing this agenda item up front. I'd like to first, all the folks that are part of the newly formed Rockwall County Veterans Memorial Foundation, we've got 8 of our founding members here. So if you would stand and be recognized over here. And Mr. Lynch in the back doesn't want to stand. But I asked the judge to bring this item up front because some of these folks may have to depart early, and I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to jump in. I don't have all the answers to this. This is something that's new. This is evolving. This is brand new. This is a passion. But feel free to jump in. Members of the court, if you look at the slides on the lower right, you'll see the slide number. So if I'm going through this and you're like, hey, I want to ask him about this, jump in. But also, if you'd rather make a note on the bottom, we can discuss it when I finish, or you can just circle back with me offline at a later time. So let's jump in. This is our new logo, the Rockwall County Veterans Memorial Foundation. We are in business. Here's the memorial at the...
Who did the logo?
Super secret. So I got to call it the big courthouse? You threw me a curveball. I'm going to try to call it the big courthouse. This is the Veterans Memorial at the big courthouse. Okay? I'm going to give you some background. The Veterans Memorial turns 15 years old on Veterans Day of this year. It needs some repair, renovation, general maintenance, improvements. It's underutilized and undervisited by the public, and this memorial is special. Here's some history. Whenever I speak to groups, I always want to make sure everybody learns something new they did not know. So hopefully all the members of the court and a lot of the public will learn some things over the next few minutes that you did not already know. By 2003, there was an effort to build a Rockwall County Veterans Memorial by a group of local veterans championed by the local Terry Fisher Post 117 of the American Legion. They were kind of the anchor and the push of the effort. So this is over 20 years ago when the effort started. They made progress in 2007. This is a newspaper cutout from July 4th, 2007. At that point, on the picture there, you'll see Mayor David Hill on the far left and Mr. Ray Walker, who was the commander of the American Legion Post 117 at the time. Essentially what had happened, the city of Fate had a developer that was committing $150,000 and some land to build a Veterans Memorial in Rockwall County, and it was going to be located in the city of Fate. Again, July 4th, 2007, almost 19 years ago. This event was held in the Fate Community Center. You'll recognize some folks in this photo. On the upper right photo, you'll see Mr. David Magnus in the yellow shirt. On the left photo, you'll see Mayor Bill Broderick, the tall gentleman towards the center with the flag shirt. He was the mayor immediately after David Hill. So they had a party there at the Fate Community Center for July 4th, where the city of Fate was championing a Veterans Memorial for Rockwall County. Again, 2007. These dates are important. But then something happened along the way. Spring of 2008, in this room, the Rockwall County Commissioners voted to build the big courthouse. So I'm going to have to make change on the run here. the big courthouse on Yellow Jacket Lane. So just less than a year after the City of Fate committed to support a Rockwall Veterans Memorial, the commissioners decided to voted to build the big courthouse on Yellow Jacket Lane. 2 years later, they broke ground. I took that photo right there. And by a year later, there was construction. You can see the dome on the right of that picture. It was built on the ground and raised up by that tower crane, and that's what's at the top of the big courthouse to this day. So again, City of Fate had this idea to build a Veterans Memorial, but plans were shifted. The Veterans Memorial was then built in conjunction with the big courthouse. It was approximately $499,000. It was county funded. So the folks sitting in your chairs 15, 18 years ago voted to fund $499,000 for the Veterans Memorial. Then there was a design jury, there was a lot of meetings, and the current design of the Veterans Memorial was decided about 15 years ago. There's the courthouse, kind of has it looked at the beginning. Again, that's the memorial. The courthouse and the memorial were both dedicated on November 11th, 2011, 11/11/11. And for a lot of folks don't realize, that's why the address of the big courthouse is 1111 Yellow Jacket Lane. Had a big dedication ceremony. I attended. It was very well attended. It was a very, very honoring service. This is the invitation to that. That's part of the programs. And then some photos from that dedication on November 11th, 2011. Mr. Lee Gilbert, former commissioner, was the MC. It's on the upper left. You see some active duty service members on the right. You can see the crowd. I believe there were probably several thousand people in attendance. Mr. Lynch there was honored at that event. Some of the folks in these photos are no longer with us. A lot of our veterans had a flyover. That's Admiral Smith, who was a big part of the initial Veterans Memorial. Then there's Chief Garrett at the time. He's in the center of that photo, and his son is to his left, who was a Marine at the time. And there's a crowd photo. It's hard to tell because these were taken kind of at ground level, but again, several thousand people there. That shows the significance that the community had and the support they had for the Veterans Memorial at that time. This is Mr. Dan Fletcher. He was the designer of the memorial. He is an architect now. He addressed the group. Admiral Smith, Congressman Ralph Hall, rest in peace, and Commissioner Bailey on that top photo. This is the dedication plaque on the memorial. It's there to this day. The motto of the dedication of the memorial and the memorial itself is "Lest We Forget." In that red circle, you see the inscription, and that's what it says right there. I'll give you a few seconds to read that. And with that, that last sentence, the last full measure of devotion of their country, I kind of wanted to personalize this just a little bit, just so we're not just looking at pictures and names and words. This is Private Hiram Jefferson Watley Jr. He died August 7th, 1943 in Myanmar. If you wonder where's that, that's Burma now. He was a prisoner of war in a Japanese prisoner of war camp. He's age 23. He's forever 23. He's not from Rockwall County, but he has relatives here. He was from West Texas, and he is forever 23. And that inscription on that memorial to those who gave their last full measure of devotion in the service of their country is for Private Watley and hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of other Americans who gave their last full measure. Again, that's the dedication plaque, and remember, the motto was "Lest We Forget." In the 14 years since the memorial was dedicated, there have been events held at the memorial. One of the most well-attended is every year around Memorial Day. Terry Garrett is the lead of the Carry the Load event. Some of these photos were taken over the last few years. Terry could not be with us today, but he's part of our founding board. Carry the Load has an event every Memorial Day. This is an event that was co-sponsored by the American Legion and the Marine Corps League. It was a remembrance several years ago. So that's just some of the activities that have occurred down in the memorial. In the 14 years since the Veterans Memorial was built, several additions have been made. All additions have been donated. So if you think back to the slide I had, the memorial was funded by the county, but all of the additions have been privately donated. The first one, which y'all probably don't remember, if you look down at the left side of that photo, there's a little kiosk. You might be thinking, I haven't seen that. That's not there. You're right, it's not there. It was set up in Liberty Hall. It was programmed, and essentially what it was a little touch screen. You could go up there and tap it, and it would give you some information on the memorial. That was put in soon after the memorial and the courthouse were dedicated. Soon thereafter, for whatever reason, I don't remember why, but by 2013, the kiosk was taken out, and you can kind of see a little outline there where it had sat. Additional additions to the memorial. 100 years after the end of World War I, there was a plaque that was dedicated to all the Rockwall County veterans who gave their life during World War I. So that was put down there almost 8 years ago. In 2024, the Travis letter was added. I know Commissioner Lichty was part of that project. So 2 years ago, the famous letter that Colonel Travis wrote from the Alamo asking for reinforcements was added to the memorial. Several years ago, when the Space Force was stood up as a separate military branch, we added the Space Force crest to the memorial. Again, that was donated. Several historical additions have been made to the courthouse grounds. The most prominent is the Ralph Hall statue, which was put in 2015. That's a list of the donors that were part of that project. All of these items were privately funded and donated to the county, and then the county partnered by assisting with the installation. That's where we've been over the last few decades. Next is where we've been recently. I've got a few bad news photos, but then some good news will follow. Several years ago, one of the 4 trees down at the memorial had died, or something had happened to it. It was removed and not replaced. We've got some stained concrete down there. And then this picture is probably the worst. That's the grass terrace. This picture was taken a year ago. You can see some trash. You can see some dead grass. It looks a lot better now, but again, this was what it looked like a year ago. Additionally, on those grass terraces, the soil has settled. You've got items of grass that have moved away from the concrete corners. They're trip hazards. It's sinking. It's unsightly. It's difficult to maintain. So you ever hear someone say, well, they should do something about that? Well, who's they? This memorial was championed by local veterans, supported by the Commissioner's Court. So when someone would say, hey, who is they? About 2 years ago, I said, how about me? How about me equal they? I'm an elected official. I'm a veteran. I work in the courthouse. I walk by the memorial every day. I've observed the memorial from concept, dedication, and growth. I'm happy to help shepherd some improvements. We owe it to those who came before and made this memorial a reality. But I need help. So I put an all-star team together. Some of these all-star members are here with us. They stood a few minutes ago. I put an all-star team together, respected organizations and local volunteers, to pick up the task started by the veterans over 2 decades ago who had a vision for the memorial. The organizations that I grabbed my all-star team from were, first of all, the local Terry Fisher Post of the American Legion, Friends of the Library. The reason I brought the Friends of the Library folks on board is because if you think of the Friends of the Library, that is an organization that is separate from the county, but its specific mission is to advocate and support the county library, a county function. I also brought Mr. O'Connor as our representative from the Rockwall County Historical Foundation, several folks from the Marine Corps League, Daughters of the American Revolution, and the Alamo Letter Society, which championed the William Barrett Travis letter. The all-star team began meeting and agreed on the following name for the organization, the Rockwall County Veterans Memorial Foundation. So in December 2025, just 3 months ago, we formalized the organization. We got stood up and blessed by the Secretary of State as a Texas nonprofit organization. Our main objectives: to advocate for the upkeep of the memorial. That's number one. And the upkeep of the memorial is a county-funded county responsibility. but then also to plan and promote improvements, additions, events, standardization of the theme of the memorial, and that is where the foundation and other private sources could come in to play. A formal organization update, what this is and what this isn't. This is an advocate for the memorial in a similar way that I mentioned, that the Friends of the Library advocates for the county library. The foundation is separate from all official county functions. This is not taking over the management of the Veterans Memorial. That's a statutory responsibility of the Commissioner's Court. Bottom line, anything we do as a foundation must be supported and approved by the Commissioner's Court, since the Veterans Memorial is a county facility. This next slide is all of our founding members. Again, some of them are here. I think there's 8 of us here today. Some could not make it. Some are out of town. But this next slide is a list of our founding members. Virtually all of these names will be familiar to most of you members of the court. So here's our founding members. None of these folks are rookies. Again, they're an all-star team. I wanted to get this started strong. We didn't want to have a learning curve. I brought in folks who had served in a volunteer capacity in other local organizations or nonprofits or patriotic organizations. So those are our founding members of the foundation. And again, some of those are here today. I think there's 8 of us. In addition to those first 2 objectives I mentioned earlier, as the foundation grows and gets our feet underneath us, we would love to assist the Commissioner's Court with long-term design, planning, to ensure consistent theme memorial, perhaps suggest a policy or concept to be adopted by the Commissioner's Court, and preserve the history of the memorial from its dedication forward. That's one reason I showed some of the photos from the City of Fate and the batch of photos that were taken at the dedication of the memorial. I think it's important to grab those now so that in 50 years when someone says, now when did they build this thing? We'll have a website, we'll have a place they can go, and they can see that. A month after we formalized the foundation in December 2025, so in January, I called each members of the court. I don't know if you remember, I called the judge and then went right down the line, had a great conversation with each of y'all on January 20th. All of y'all were very responsive to the idea of the foundation. I then met with Commissioner Macklick a week or so ago and gave her a very similar overview to what I'm sharing today. She agreed to be our advocate and our point of contact. I also met with the auditor, Maintenance Director Barry Compton, as well as Destry Wilson for some preliminary planning. And even before we formalized the foundation, we had seen some success. When we were still just an all-star team and we were looking at this and seeing some of the things that I've shown, we had one member who will remain nameless of our foundation who decided to take the bull by the horns and make some calls. And so just in the last few months, that missing tree that was down there has now been replaced. Additionally, we've seen the stained concrete. You can see the gentleman there pressure washing some of that. So we've already made some progress just because the foundation's been somewhat of a squeaky wheel. We're off to a great start, but there's still more to do. This is 2026. 2026 is a big year. It's the 15th anniversary of the memorial. It's also 25 years since 9/11, and the biggest, it's 250 years since the Declaration of Independence and the founding of our nation. So the foundation's been talking, decided, hey, can we plan a significant addition to the memorial for 2026? A goal could be to have a groundbreaking, something like that, in 2026. July 4th, 9/11, Veterans Day. What could that look like? So lots of options we considered. Here's just a few of them. Over in Rowlett, they've got a 9/11 memorial on the west side of Dow Rock, so it's in Dallas County, a nice, reverent September 11th memorial that they put together in the city of Rowlett. Additionally, y'all may have seen the traveling Vietnam Wall. I actually went out to see this in Wiley. I took these pictures in the fall. It's a very moving experience if you've been to D.C. and seen the Vietnam Wall, and they have this version that is a slightly smaller version that travels around the country. We looked at reserving that and bringing that out to Rockwall County, which we may do in the future. So there was a lot of options we looked at. But here's what we settled on, and here's why we're here today. Those 3 grass terraces down at the memorial, again, they look a little better now. This is kind of a worst-case look. Those 3 grass terraces, we decided as a foundation and voted unanimously to replace the grass with a memorial brick garden. This is what you'll see if you go down to McLennan Chisholm. It's a very nice brick garden that folks can donate a brick, and lists their service members' dates of service or their branch or something like that. And we're looking at adding that in place of those 3 grass terraces. Again, that would take care of some of the reseeding soil, the maintenance, all that kind of stuff. This would be a win-win, as the county will no longer need to maintain the grass, watering, mowing, dealing with the sinking, turf, all of that. And adding the brick garden will make the memorial much more of a draw to the community. 2 decades ago, one of the questions asked during the memorial design and development was, here was the question. I was in this room, it was over 15 years ago, and a gentleman stood up and said, for this new Veterans Memorial that y'all are building, will you list all of the veterans that have ever lived in Rockwall County? That was a daunting ask, but I remember when he asked that. And the decision was made, there's no way to research that. It's difficult enough just to research veterans who had lived here, who may have passed away in a war. But for sure, all of the veterans, especially with our population now, there's no way to list all of the veterans that have ever served. However, with this brick garden, we can have local community members, local citizens, donate a brick on behalf of their loved one, either living or someone who's passed, and we will get that added to the memorial, and they will be forever remembered. So the brick garden is our main focus right now. Over the coming months and years, the foundation will also make some recommendations to improvements for signage and lighting for the memorial, as well as other items. But our first project is the Memorial Brick Garden, and we would love to have the support of the Commissioner's Court. Again, that's where the grass is now, looking at putting something like the bricks on the right as the brick garden. So basically what this would look like is the Commissioner's Court would fund some concrete slabs, because we don't want to put bricks right on top of the grass, some concrete slabs that would be poured, that would be safe, and then we would add the bricks on top of that. So the Commissioner's Court would fund the concrete slabs and the prep work, and then the foundation would donate the memorial bricks. So that's where we're at, and that's the ask. And if you're saying, well, what is the real ask? Well, I met with Mr. Compton several weeks ago, and if we wanted to remove the grass terraces and lay a brick slab so that we could lay a concrete slab for all 3 surfaces, for all 3 sections, would be about $6,200. However, our ask would be about $10,000 to cover anything unknown at this point prior to purchasing the bricks and having those installed. So $10,000 partnership from the county, and then the foundation would take care of the bricks, ordering, design, placement, all that kind of good stuff. So I've got Mr. O'Connor here with me. He's done a lot of the legwork on the bricks, and the vendor that we've been working with that could do the brick engraving, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time if anybody from the court has any questions.
Questions for Mr. Peak or Mr. O'Connor?
I have a question. Lisa, can we do this out of our community line item in general government?
You can. You have several places that you could take the money. There is still a line in our budget. It's unfunded for the Veterans Memorial. And in that same section, there's money for open space that's $10,000. So, you have some offsets here. If you use your community events, you would just offset it with contingency. So several places you could do this, and we could charge it to the unfunded Veterans Memorial line.
Thanks, David, for bringing this in, Mark, and to everybody who's worked on it. It's very, very good for me to see a group of people just get together and say, we're going to fix a problem. And I appreciate you all doing that. I'm totally in support of what you want to do. I just wanted to say thank you. I don't know where we'll find the money. I don't know that we have to resolve that today. If we do, we can. But I don't know. I wouldn't want to take it out of open space, but we'll find a place for it. So thanks for doing this, guys. I really appreciate it. And carry on.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Any other questions or comments?
No, just thank you. I think this is great timing, and I appreciate everybody's efforts and your willingness to step forward and lead this. I'm behind it.
Yep, thank you. You are on the agenda as discussion only, so even if we wanted to act, we...
No, it says discuss and act. It does,
Yeah,
item 15.
it says act.
Discuss and act. You're right. There's
And
a
I will,
difference between the actual agenda and the agenda item, so...
I'll make a motion that we fund the project from this group with $10,000 from our community money.
And I will second that.
Have a motion by Commissioner Galana, a second by Commissioner Stacy. Are there any further questions or comments? Hearing none, if you'll register your votes. Need one more. There we go. That passes 5-0. Thank you. Thank you for all that you do, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge.
Great presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner Macklick, and I will
Love everybody over there in the line. Thank you.
Thank you again for letting us come up, and Judge and members of the court, we will definitely keep you in the loop as we proceed with this project. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you.